Welcome to Hope is Here. My name is Greg Horn, and I'm so glad that you are joining us today. And one of the books in the Bible that a lot of times we don't like to read because it talks about sorrow and grief is the book of Lamentations, which is what lament means. It means to have passionate expression of grieving or sorrow or regret. And the book of Lamentations, not a very long book, but one written by the prophet Jeremiah, and he was just grieving over the fall of Jerusalem as they had just kind of turned their backs on God. And he just grieved for that and for those people. And, it's kind of interesting as you fast forward over 2,000 years later, it's kind of where we've kind of gotten in our country, the United States, where we have kind of started to turn our back on God, and especially over the past 5 years, just a rapid decline of people following Jesus Christ. And yet the good news is that there's always hope because of Jesus. In Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8 says that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. But one of the things I know about grieving is that a lot of times in our culture, when we have a season of loss, we don't really take time to lament, to grieve, to process that. And I'm not talking just necessarily the death of a loved one. Obviously, that is very, very painful, and loss of a family member, a spouse, it's just a close friend. And it's really, really painful because, unfortunately, if you love greatly, when someone's gone, it also can be very painful. You'll hurt greatly, yet that's one of the prices of love, and that doesn't mean that we should love people less. And we want to love, and the thing that I know from losing loved ones and friends that I've loved, the good news is that God over time helps to heal our heart, and what is painful memories of missing them becomes more joyous memories of times and good memories that we've had with them. And I want to encourage you, if you're in a season of loss and if you're a season of grieving right now, to know that because you hurt, that God hurts, and that he wants to help you, and that he is going to comfort you. In Psalms, it talks about that God stores up the tears that we cry in a bottle in heaven with her name on it. And Psalm 34:18 says that God is close to the brokenhearted, and that he comforts those who are crushed in spirit. Maybe you're going through a loss of a marriage. Best way to describe it, having been through divorce myself, is that it's the death of something, the death of a marriage, the death of the life that you've known. Your identity changes. And just my heart hurts if you're walking through that. I'm walking through it with a young man that I've known for many years that's going through an unexpected divorce in his life, and there's children involved, and it's just a very, very painful process. And right now is a time of lamenting for him, and maybe that's where you're at today. And I want you to know that because you hurt, I hurt, having walked through that myself before, and then also that God hurts. And he knows what it's like to lose something and that we love. And, but it may not be just a death of a relative, a loved one, a spouse, or a marriage. It could be the loss of a job. Sometimes we've had a job that we really love. Maybe we've been there for 5 years or more, or 10 years, or so many times through the COVID, the impact, the economic impact that we've had. People lose their jobs, and, that's a loss. And I want to encourage you, whatever that is, maybe it's a health, you've lost some of your health and you're not able to go and walk and travel and do things like you used to. And you've got some physical challenges now, and, you don't hear as well, you don't see as well. And those are things also that can, cause us to lament, to grieve or sorrow over that. And I just feel in my heart today, I want to encourage you to just take some time and be able to do that. Even if it's just 15 minutes, just, take a drive, or just turn off the TV, the radio, your cell phone, and just talk to God and just tell him how you're hurting and how much you're hurting. And one of the questions that I ask people when I'm meeting with them and counseling with them, and they're just really, really hurting and because of a loss. And I just ask them, what's been the hardest part of this loss? And, there's just so many different angles and different aspects when you lose something, especially a relationship with someone that you really, really love, that, it's all the new things, just all the unknowns, and not being able to do things that we're comfortable with. And it takes us out of our comfort zone. And just asking, the question, how does it make you feel with this loss? And, just processing that pain. And so maybe there's somebody today that you want to reach out to, but you don't know what to say. And one of the most powerful things that I was taught was by my hero and mentor, Wayne Smith, the founding pastor of Southland Christian Church, who's been in heaven now for over 5 years. But he taught me, just said, Greg, he said, sometimes when you don't know what to say, you just simply need to say, I'm sorry, and I hurt because you hurt. I'm so sorry about what you're going through, and I hurt because you hurt. And when I went through the devastating flood back in March of 1997, I received a handwritten letter from Wayne, and it said that he had retired as pastor, but he never retired from ministry. And he wrote me a handwritten letter and just said, Greg, I hurt because you hurt, and I know it doesn't make sense now, but I'm praying and want you to believe Romans 8:28, that all things work together for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose, and God will have a purpose in this. And he capitalized the word all, A-L-L, and I stayed really strong during that recovery period, just trying to get everything cleaned out and get everything restocked, and all the new tile floor in my 24,000 square foot store, all the 6 cash registers and the electronic equipment, the scanners, all those things. And I'd stay really strong, even though I was really hurting. But when I read Wayne's letter, I was in my office by myself, and just the dam broke. I just started weeping. Because of the grief and sorrow of all that had gone on, the loss of my life as I had known it, going $2 million in debt overnight because of a flood. And I was lamenting so harshly, but you know what? It was also very refreshing, just to release that pain. But simply that letter, handwritten letter with 3-4 sentences at most, handwritten by my hero Wayne Smith, saying, I hurt because you hurt. And I'm praying for you, and just trust Romans 8:28, that all things work together. And that's why I do Hope is Here. When we started in 2017, it was actually 20 years later. That's amazing. A little over 20 years, since that was March of 1997. We started Hope is Here in December of 2017, so 20 years and a half. And that's why I'm so passionate about hope, because I know what it's like to be hopeless. And I'm thankful for people like Wayne Smith that gave me hope and pressed me into my faith and into the Lord, and just acknowledged my pain and lamented with me. I hurt because you hurt. And I want you to know that today, if you're listening, whether it's live on the radio or maybe you're watching this on YouTube, that you're just saying, hey, Greg, man, I'm hurting. I want you to know that God hurts because you hurt, and that I hurt because you hurt. And if you don't have anyone else that you feel like you can talk to, reach out to me. You can go to our website, hopeishere.today. That's hopeishere.today. And my contact information's on there, and I'll be glad to meet you for a cup of coffee. And I may not have the answers, but just somebody to listen. And I want you to know that because you hurt, God hurts, and you are not alone. But if you're like, right now, man, I'm at a crisis mode, Greg, I need to talk to somebody, then there's a 1-800 number you can call 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-TALK. And I believe that's 8256, if I'm not mistaken. But call them right now. I mean, stop listening to this. If you're at that point and you need to talk to somebody right now, you call them, and there'll be somebody there to listen and to help give you hope. But it's good to lament. I mean, that's the title of this program today, and we're going to be talking about it more over the next couple of days. Let's lament. Let's lament. Let's take time to express our grief, our sorrow, maybe regrets that have happened. And we all have them. And if you've not done that, then I want to encourage you to take some time to lament. But if you have done some work on that in the past, and you've made a lot of progress with the healing and getting healthy, sometimes we do just want to go back there and visit. But I want to remind you to not set up camp there, okay? Because the enemy loves to get us to go back and lament at a time in the past of a wound that we had. And, it's okay to go back, visit there, and maybe just think and process some of that for a few minutes. But if you've done some good counseling work and some good conversation with God about it, and maybe a close friend, just be really careful that you don't set up camp there. As the old saying goes, be careful about spending too much time looking in the rearview mirror, right? As I like to say sometimes when I talk, sometimes you just got to throw that rearview mirror away. And I know obviously it's very dangerous in driving, and so I kind of say that tongue in cheek, but yet the enemy loves to keep us living in the past, doesn't he? And that's why one of my favorite Bible verses is in Philippians chapter 3, verse 13, that says, this one thing I do, forgetting the past and focusing on what lies ahead. This one thing I do. Paul's saying just not 10 things, not 5 things, not 3 things, not even 2 things. Just this one thing I'm focusing on today is forgetting the past and focusing on what lies ahead for me. And maybe today that's what you need to do. And maybe when you get in the car and you see that rearview mirror, or you drive today and you just say, God, thank you that you were with me in the past. And maybe I made some mistakes that caused this wound in my life, or maybe it was because of some unwise or selfish decisions that other people have made that have greatly impacted my life. Yet, you know what? I'm thankful, God, that you've met me there, that you're with me there, that you're going to help to heal my heart and my mind from those wounds. And I am going to look towards the future. I am pressing on. And, it's kind of interesting, proportionally, the windshield in a car is, 25, 30 times, 50 times bigger than the rearview mirror. And so that's proportionally saying we should spend much, much more time focusing on the future and looking ahead than we do in the past. Yet I do know that if you don't deal with a wound from your past, that it's going to carry over into other relationships in your life, from family and friends to coworkers. And so I also want to encourage you, if you've not taken some time to grieve or to deal with a wound from your past, to please get some help with that. And sometimes it can be as simply as just reaching out to God and talking you and him one-on-one. But usually I found in my life it's that's the first step. But the second is meeting with a trusted friend or family member, and then maybe even a pastor or a good Christian counselor. And I've shared about that before. Some of the best money I've spent over the past 20 years through the flood, bankruptcy, and divorce is good Christian counseling. And I want to encourage you that that'd be one of the best investments that you can make. Well, I want to close today with Lamentations chapter 3, verses 22 and 23. The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is God's faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning. So know that God loves you, and there's always hope because of Jesus. I'm Greg Horn, and this is Hope is Here.